Hey yo YouTube, I am here to continue talking about my higher level D&D game, Band of Titans. Um, Looking at my notes, some of the stuff was written out of order, and I realized I skipped one session. So this would have been after we killed the Wendigo, before we went to the Emerald City. So we would just be now going through the vortex. But when we first entered, we were in some futuristic world or present day world. I always write futuristic world because they're medieval characters. Um, but they were in like a present day world where like everything's empty. And I know we enter a room where there's like skeletons and stuff. And this is one of the first times that Johan kind of notices that he has a hard time reading Craven's morals because we see the skeletons and Craven's let's not activate anything if it's here and let's just move on, and Johan's we think differently. If these skeletons are undead, I would rather take care of it instead of letting the next person. We investigate the room a little bit, and all we find is like some newspapers that make it sound like this is like an apocalyptic world, like the people died from radiation. So we quickly start moving on. Eventually, we go through a portal, and when we go through the portal, one of the characters that came with us, an NPC, but before she came to this world, I guess she was a cop, and we enter the way the world works is a lot like one that I mentioned in the other campaign, but it ends up turning out that this is not only Maravik's world, but the more we invest, where we the people around us can't see us, but we could interact with the things around us, and whenever we pick them up and stuff, they notice it. It ends up making a pretty fun campaign because particularly because like I said, it's like sometimes like he'll do stuff that you don't expect. Like he just starts randomly just starts flipping tables and stuff like that, and uh, and it seems like every time we get back on track, like somebody else does something. Like I do know at one point, like Johan flips, either picks up a chair or something like that. Um, I know, we talk about how like we probably made some huge conspiracy in this world where where it got filmed or something, and they talk about the time the tables magically flipped over and stuff. And if I remember right, to a point we're split up, like we're in a mall, and for some reason it brought us here all split up. It doesn't take us long to get back together, but Chevy is in before he came to this world. I mentioned that he was just a regular. He not only was he a regular person, but he was a kid in our world. He was playing Skyrim and then got sucked into the game and ended up here, or ended up in our campaign. The DM spends a handful of time with him because, like I said, to a point he knows this world. Uh, I know at one point he finds a Starbucks and he just like slugs or gulps it. And I remember thinking like if he was the type of person I think he is, he probably just orgasmed when he drank that Starbucks because he hasn't had that for months. But eventually the group meets up. We end up realizing that not only we in Maravik's world, but we're in her past right before she came to our world, and she tells us how there's there was a kid or one of her friends got kidnapped, and I think a group of people. In fact, I know a group of people get kidnapped, and there's a meeting to negotiate the terms for getting them back. And we start heading the ways towards the meeting. If I remember right, it's in a restaurant inside the mall. Uh, when we get there again, we continue fucking with stuff. At one point, Johan picks up a drink and drops it because we're just curious about how everyone's reacting and stuff. I remember when we start doing that, Miravik's like, "That was y'all." Um, that was y'all I was doing it. I don't know. I don't know if we just followed the people she was talking to or overheard them, but somehow we got to the hostages, and I remember like there was thugs with knives, and I guess they're according to my notes. I guess there were also vampires. I do know like there's a sorcerer, and there's like three or four hostages in front of him that I want to say he's connected to somehow. And I know he does one spell and kills one of them during the fight, like during like the first round. But again, does his he does his leap attack and one shot takes him out, and we there's a good chance we could have lost a couple of them if we were unlucky, maybe even Mirovik's friend. But like I said, because of her, we only lost one. Um, and apparently we were dream walking this whole time. So afterwards we wake up. And I vaguely remember this because I want to say that Craven dropped out early. So I want to say the next session, um, we're still in the dream walk and Craven's already awake. And I remember like the Craven, the player who plays Craven says like when the like I'm thinking, all right, all we got to do is um, the party's gonna wake up and Craven's gonna be there and we'll get the game going. And Craven ends up saying, uh, he packs up all because like whenever we dreamwalk, we disappear. Or this particular time, we disappear. He packs up all his stuff and starts traveling the ways, and the deal, like I said, I was thinking he's just going to stay on Craven for a few minutes, but the Craven kind of stretches it out, and then when he finally gets back to us, the group, um, he says, I say before he says it, you wake up at the same spot you went to sleep before you started dream walking, and then the DM goes, you wake up at the same spot you were before you started dream walking. And I remember Earth players like, how'd you know that? I was like, because I know how this game works. I was like, I spent the last hour thinking, where the hell is Creeman going? Like, we're gonna wake up there. Uh, Eventually, we just start walking the ways, and we do end up meeting up with them. But like I said, it was like a 2 hour incident, give or take, where we should have just it should have been like 10 minutes before the game really got. So after wasting 10 minutes of this video, getting back to where I left off last time, uh, we were going into another part of the ways to, or the vortex to try and find Gideon and Chevy. So we go we go to this place to try to find Gideon and Chevy. Um, if I remember right, the either the DM just switches or starts off a little bit with Chevy, where because not Chevy but Gideon, um, because in the world he's in, uh, uh, it's like it's pretty much seems like it's like bright, where there's like humanoid people, but there's it's like civilized in a modern day, and then throughout the place there seems to be like vampires, and like it's the same thing where most people can't see him and he can interact with stuff, uh, but the vampires can see him. So apparently he's been spending this time taking down vampires and kind of like tracking uh, I guess to a group of them or something like that. Eventually, again, the groups meet up. Uh, so we're walking down a road, and we see like a van pull up, and outside of it, we see a party come out. And from the description, they all sound like vampire hunters. Um, and either they do some kind of check or somehow they could automatically tell that one of them is a vampire. Um, Craven Craven ends up doing. I want to say Johan tells him to do it too. He does a detect evil spell because he's a paladin, and he senses that there's something evil in the bus, and he walks up to the bus. He looks inside of it, and he sees like some lady, and the lady turns and looks at him, and then Craven's player says, I use my breath weapon, I unload on her. And, and like the rest of the party's kind of like, what the fuck? The DM says to roll initiative. Uh, Naomi and Craven win it. I want to say Craven wins it, and then Naomi. Uh, uh, he does a breath weapon inside the van. The lady like turns into smoke and like disappears like inside or under the van. Um, and then Naomi, I haven't talked about this much, but Naomi has the Xena weapons, which I've mentioned, but she's a beast with them. Like she gets so many attacks, and like it's incredibly easy for her to hit criticals. She does the unload on the vampire and kills him in one round. Uh, and then like the rest of that group that's with him just take off. Uh, and then after that, the group gets into a big argument because Craven is like, "All right, we got Gideon and Chevy. Let's get out of here now." And Johan's like, "No, like I'm pretty sure you just killed like those are a bunch of vampire hunters, and you just killed a goodly vampire. Uh, they were on some mission." And we need to continue it because we just interrupted it. And Craven's like, no, as much as I would like to kill undead, we kind of gotta get back to there. So, and we go back and forth for a little bit, and I know when they ask Gideon his opinion, he's like, I'll do whatever the party does. It doesn't matter one way to the other to me. Truth be told, if the part eventually, I want to say. Aradina jumps in and we decide to push on. But if the party disagreed, Johan might have went lawful stupid and continued it himself. Uh, so we push forward and we end up fighting we come across like a mansion that has a bunch of vampires. If I remember right, there's a bunch outside that start shooting at us, and we have to actually break besides there being a master vampire and a bunch of vampires in there, I don't remember too much. So in our next session, Craven is has some romantic relationship with some gypsy woman that's in a gypsy group that's by the manor, and it takes up a bunch of our time. Like he is always going to the gypsy group and talking to them about something, and and one of the things that Craven's done is like I said, they've gotten into feud with other groups. Him doing the sugarcane stuff, and like every time he uh, frees a group, he ends up taking in a lot of the people, the workers there. And one of the times they did this before I started playing was I can't remember what they're called right now. It starts with a D, but pretty much they're like Irish. And the Titans took down a brewery, and they ended up taking in the workers. But the thing is, the workers didn't want to be taken in. Like they thought they were gonna get to take over this brewery, and like apparently Craven was like, "No, I'm boss now." Uh, and I guess the leader's a female, and was like, "Are you saying I don't have a choice?" And he was like, "No, either join us or leave." pretty much he said like I want to say like there were exact words that the DM used more than once, man, and it was some, I want to say it was a little more harsher than that. This Irish group set of gypsies. I also know they're also prefer are called travelers in this world, um, and they don't have some type of chief that they need, and this group hasn't had one for a long time. So it gets proposed that Craven could take on the role. Um, but like him and the female leader, they kind of have a back and forth because she kind of reminds them, and at the same time, apparently like Craven never checks up on them. Like Craven never goes to the brewery itself, or they even opened a bar, and like he's never really went to the bar, but he's attempting to be some. But they decided to try to make him some kind of, I guess it's called a Gashine chief. Apparently, it's highly based off of the Wheel of Time world, like the tests and stuff he's gonna have to take. So I think I'm gonna end it there because I'm not too far away from the end, and either this will be a really long video or the next one or the last one before I catch up will be really short if I don't stop now. Uh, but some big things happen in the next one. Like this test doesn't go as planned. Um, you want to check it out, see my next video. You want to know the whole story, watch all my videos, and check you later.